In our story today, we hear about Queen Esther. Esther's people were in danger of losing their lives, and her cousin, Mordecai, wanted her to go to the king to try and save her people. Let's listen to our story and find out if Esther talks to the king. A long time after King Cyrus had died, his grandson Xerxes became king. He was not as good a king as Cyrus. He wasn't as smart or as wise as Cyrus, and he had a bad temper. He had a wife named Vashti who was very beautiful. Xerxes wanted to show off his beautiful wife to his friends at a party one night, but Vashti wouldn't come out of her room. "Come out," Xerxes said. "No," Vashti told him. This made the king angry, so angry that he threw Queen Vashti out of his palace and said she wasn't his queen anymore. Yep, Xerxes had a bad temper, all right. Xerxes' friend said, "You need a new queen, an even better queen." Xerxes searched all through the Persian Empire for the best queen of all, and Xerxes found Esther. Esther was an orphan. She had no mother or father. Esther lived with her cousin Mordecai, who worked for King Xerxes at his palace. But more important, Esther was a Jew. What's a Jew? God's people were called the Israelites because they were the children of Israel. After Israel split in two, the southern half was called Judah. People from Judah who ended up living in the Persian Empire were called Jews. King Xerxes didn't know Esther was a Jew. He just knew she was pretty and kind. The king liked Esther so much he made her the new queen. Then things got complicated. King Xerxes had a friend named Haman, and Haman did not like Jews at all. Haman especially didn't like Esther's cousin Mordecai because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to Haman. Have you ever met someone who wanted to be the boss of everyone? Haman was that kind of person. Like Xerxes, Haman had a bad temper. Over and over, he demanded that Mordecai bow down to him, and over, Mordecai refused. Finally, Haman was so angry that he wanted to kill Mordecai. Then Haman had an even worse idea. Why kill only Mordecai? Why not kill all the Jews in Persia? Haman lied and told King Xerxes that the Jews were troublemakers and that the Persian Empire would be better if there were no Jews at all. King Xerxes trusted Haman, so the king signed a paper announcing that all the Jews would be killed. He hung the paper outside his palace where Mordecai worked. Mordecai couldn't believe his eyes. "Esther," Mordecai said, "you have to go talk to the king." Esther was terrified. No one talked to the king without being invited. If you walked into the king's room without an invitation, you could be killed, even if you were the queen. But Mordecai said, "Esther, you can save your people. Maybe this is why you became queen." So Esther gathered her courage and walked into the king's room. She waited to see if the guards would grab her and kill her, but King Xerxes said, "Let her talk to me." Esther invited the king to a banquet, and at that banquet she invited him to another one. By the second meal, Esther had gathered enough courage to tell the king about Haman's plan. "Someone is going to kill my whole family and me," she said. King Xerxes was angry. Who would try to kill his queen? Esther pointed to Haman. "Haman," she said, "Haman plans to kill all the Jews, and I am a Jew." King Xerxes was furious. "Whatever you were going to do to the Jews," he said to Haman, "will be done to you." And that was the last time that anyone had to worry about Haman. God used the bravery of Esther, an orphan girl who became queen, to save the children of Israel.
This the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
today we're going to draw a picture, but I am not going to tell you what we're going to draw. You can follow along and you can see if you can guess what we're drawing as we draw. Okay, so I am not the greatest artist, so don't let yourself get frustrated if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, because we all have different abilities. Okay, so you're going to draw. First, you're going to draw just a little bit of like a half circle. Okay, and then you're going to draw one down below. And if you need help from a grown-up, you can ask for it, but just a little half and a little half. And if you don't like drawing, you could just watch. Okay, so just like this pencil, we're only able to create things when we're directed by somebody's hand. This pencil can't draw by itself, right? That's just like how God is. God leads us just like this pencil. He has a plan even when we don't know what it is, and he'll guide us just like I'm going to guide you in this drawing. Okay, so if you had to guess from what this looks like, what do you think that we're going to draw just from this? If I was going to guess and I didn't know, I would maybe put a circle here and some eyelashes and make an eyeball, or I might make a little face here and a tail and do a fish, but that's not what we're drawing. Okay, so draw a little line here. See, like that? And then this is why I've got you having a second piece of paper. You don't have to do this if you don't want, but because I'm not that great of an artist, I'm going to put that paper along there, and I'm going to draw the line so that I know this line's this paper's at the top of that line. I'm going to draw my line, my little slanted line, up to the piece of paper, so that way my lines are about the same. I think that one's actually a little longer because I probably tilted it a little, so I'm going to make that line a little longer. Okay, so sometimes my pencil's already sharp. Our pencils have to be sharpened. Like if we break our pencil while we're working on our drawing, just in the same way, God likes to sharpen us. With his Spirit, he wants to work in our lives and shape us more. Okay, so now you're going to take this line in. You take it in like halfway, kind of like if you were drawing the letter M. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Does anybody have any guesses? If I were going to guess, I might think we were drawing a cat and like continue those ears and make a little nose and some whiskers. Okay, so in the same way that you don't know for sure what we're drawing yet, Esther didn't know what God was doing with her when he made her queen, or when Haman said that he was going to when he convinced the king to have all her people killed, and she was very frightened, and she had to go to the king not knowing what would happen. So it's the same way. We have to trust God's plans even when we don't know. Okay, so if you want to go from your line right here, and then you're going to draw another point. Ooh. This is going to test Miss April's drawing skills. Okay, and then I'm going to put that paper there, and then let's continue it down like that letter M. Up, except even further this time. More like you were drawing the letter A this time. Okay, so then let's do it on the other side. And see if I can do this like the letter A, except that's not where you start when you draw the letter A. You don't start with that side, do you? Okay, any guesses yet? It's starting to look more like what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so inside of a pencil is lead. This pencil on the outside looks pretty boring, right? It's just your basic, it's called a number 2 pencil. But just like our Bible verse tells us that God looks in the inside at our heart, he knows our real purpose for him lies on the inside, just like this pencil. Okay, so I'm going to continue on. Okay, see if I can do this. I'm going to draw really big, like it's the letter A, but really big this time. Boop. All the way to my paper. My line's a little bit curvy, but that's okay. Okay, So I would hope you know what that is by now, but it's a crown, just like Queen Esther wore. So if you want to, I finished talking. If you want to like decorate your crown, you can do like what I'm doing, or you can do something different. So, okay, so a pencil leaves a trace. If we leave our lives in God's hands, just like this pencil, our life will leave an incredible trace. Esther was able to leave an incredible trace with her life. She was able to save her people. And then that was very important that she saved her people, because her people were Jewish and Jesus was Jewish. So that helped Jesus be able to come along later. Today's Bible verse is from 1 Samuel 16:7. God does not see the same way people see. People look at the outside of a person, but the Lord looks at the heart. Okay, so let's learn the motions to go with our verse. Okay, so first, God does not see. Can you do like you're doing binoculars? God does not see the same way that people see. You can do point to yourself and then do binoculars. So let's do that part again. God does not see the same way that people see. People look, you can do your binoculars again, lots of binoculars this time, at the outside of a person and make muscles. We look at the outside of a person. But the Lord, remember that banner, we've done it many times now. The Lord, do your banner, looks at the heart. Okay, let's try that again. God does not see the same way that people see. People look, make your binoculars again, at the outside. But the Lord, make your banner, looks at the heart. Pat your heart. Let's do it one more time to make sure we've got it. God does not see the same way that people see. People look at the outside of a person, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Now we're going to pray. Remember, we're talking to a king. And when we talk to a king, we can bow our head and then we can close our eyes so we don't get distracted. We can fold our hands. So if you want to do those things with me while we pray, you can. Okay. Dear God, thank you for letting us be a part of your plan right now, right where we are. Show us ways we can love and help others. Amen.